Hey everybody, this is Cups. Welcome back to the Monster Hunter Rise videos. Today we're going to be talking about the longsword. I had a lot of fun with this one. I was actually not a weapon I was too keen on in World and Iceborne, but I'm actually really liking in this one. And I wanted to give you a quick breakdown on the changes, some of the Wirebug moves, which is kind of the main mechanic of the game so far, and then just kind of initial impressions of the weapon. So changes overall, longsword feels mostly the same. There are some kind of key changes though whenever you hit the EI counter, which is the R2 and B button. Whenever you kind of hit the R2 counter, I guess whatever we want to call it, the ZR button. Whenever you hit that counter, it actually fills it. It gives you a meter of spirit gauge, so you go from yellow to red. And you also can't, there's no Helmbreaker in the game anymore. That's been replaced by something that I'll mention later on. But overall, the ground combos feel pretty good. I did have a little bit of difficulty dealing with some flyers. I fought like the Rathian and some other, kind of monsters that spend some time in the air. And I was actually having trouble hitting some of them, but I think once you get a little bit more used to soaring kick, which is one of the Wirebug moves we'll talk about again here, then you'll enjoy it. It feels smooth. It does a lot of damage. The Wirebug moves, whenever you do land it on weak points, you do a tremendous amount of damage. You have a lot of counters. You have a lot of stuff to work with. You have your kind of normal EI counter, and then you also have like your EI slash, which has a little bit of vulnerability frames. They feel about exactly the same in Iceborne as I thought. The weapon has a pretty similar flow where you land your big hits and then you go into EI counter and you just kind of put yourself in counter situations to do a lot of damage, and then whenever the monster's down, then you land the Helmbreaker equivalent, which is sword and kick. Everything else was fine too. Whenever you hit your EI slash, it builds your meter. It gives it like this little blue tint to it that kind of builds it over time. And basically the same if you were used to playing this in Iceborne, not so much World, but a very similar feeling weapon to it. And some of the Wirebug moves that I'll talk about here added a good amount of dimension to it, I feel like. But, just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a preliminary. I was only offered a couple chances to, you were limited to, for the media demo, I was only allowed a few chances on every weapon, so this isn't a full breakdown of the weapon or anything like that, but I wanted to give you just a quick initial impressions on how I felt about it. The biggest change for Rise is the inclusion of the Wirebug moves, and Longsword has two of them here. One of them is the Serene Pose, which is kind of puts like the little kind of like a spider web looking thing in front of you, and that has a powerful counter that you can go into more combos afterwards. It's a hard hitting one hitter that is another counter attack, but it uses two Wirebugs, which I'm not really used to. Most of the things that I've played around with only use one Wirebug moves, and I'm not really quite sure if it's really that useful. It might be kind of one of those things where the more Wirebugs you have, the more damage it does. But I kind of felt like it was more, I was more apt to use something like the counter, like the EI counter and some of the other counters and stuff like that to keep building meter. But maybe there's some use there that I don't really see yet. As for the other thing is the soaring kick, and this kind of replaces the Helmbreaker from the previous version. You throw your Wirebug up in the air, and if you hit the monster on the way up or on the way down, do like a little kick move and then come down, and you can do two different things. You can do a little downward stab that doesn't do very much damage, but has decent part break and some flinch and stuff like that. But if you hit the ZR button while you're on your way up into the air, then you'll go down into the traditional Helmbreaker. It seems to hit a little bit more delayed than what I was used to in Iceborne and stuff like that. I felt myself missing it a couple times, but this does a ton of damage. In the beta, whenever I was hitting Mizutsune all on the head, I was getting like 50 damage a hit, 51 damage a hit for like 6 or 7 hits or something like that. So a lot of damage, a lot of part break. A lot of dunks and stuff like that from this move, and helps you deal with the flyers, which can be a little bit of a situation. But those two both feel pretty good. I don't really see too much of a use for Serene Pose right now, but Soaring Kick is your go-to for damage, especially on a down monster. But both of those are cool right now. My overall impressions of the Longsword is I really enjoyed it a lot, actually. It felt like it had a lot of good flow, and it felt very powerful. I felt like I was getting a lot more flinches and a lot more staggers and a lot more consistent damage on it than some of the other weapons I had played. And just for kind of reference sake, Longsword was my least used weapon in Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Iceborne. So that doesn't mean I still got a lot of time on it, and I feel like a pretty solid Longsword player, but I definitely will be spending more time with it in Rise. because there's just so many options and there's so many things to do that there's going to be a lot of micromanaging. And I feel like a lot of the strong players that you guys are used to seeing, and maybe some new faces, are going to show you some really cool stuff. And I feel like this is definitely one of those kind of lockdown weapons where if you're doing everything right, the monster doesn't really get to move. But longsword feels great. Definitely give it a try. And I know it's a very popular weapon, so we'll go ahead and throw this up there first. But I appreciate you guys watching. If you want any kind of more Monster Hunter Rise news, gameplay, content, guides, stuff like that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and also sharing the video to anybody that wants to take a look at it is always greatly appreciated. And I can't wait to talk to more with you guys about Rise in the future. So have a good one. Have a happy New Year, and we'll see you soon for more Rise. Let's get to it.
personal.